Hello and welcome to the first ever DOE Office of Indian Energy virtual program review. I guess I'm going to apologize right up front for those who are attending multiple sessions because we're going to do a similar introduction for each session in the event that new folks have joined us. So I'm going to apologize up front. Okay, next slide, Isabel, please. So by way of introduction, for those of you that I have not met yet, my name is Lasana Pierce. I've been in the energy development arena for the last 25 plus years. Makes me feel old every time I say that. But I have had the pleasure and the privilege of working with Indian tribes and many Alaska Native villages with their energy development over the last 20 years. I am a mechanical engineer by degree and pursued an MBA. In my current position as deployment supervisor, I support the office by executing the deployment program, which is comprised of financial assistance on a competitive basis, technical assistance, which is free of charge to Indian tribes and eligible tribal entities, and education and outreach. Additionally, I manage the national funding opportunity announcements with my pal Tommy Jones, and act as a project officer for some of the resultant grants and agreements, as well as implement the outreach, through our website and email newsletters. And I also oversee support from our laboratories and some of our other partners. So I did want to identify James Jensen. He's going to be moderating the Q&As after the third presentation in this session. James is second from the left on the bottom picture. And again, he'll be moderating the Q&As. That picture specifically was taken at the Seminole Tribes of Florida's third annual Renewable Energy and Sustainability Conference. And, I went back this morning putting that together and realized that, after that was RES. And I think folks got home from RES and then we all were told to go home. And we've been teleworking ever since. So there you go. It's been a while. Next slide, please. So next, I wanted to introduce one of the newest members to our federal team, Dr. Tommy Jones, who will be providing sort of 5-minute warning to the presenters so we can stay on track. Tommy Jones from Jones, Oklahoma. Yes, Tommy Jones from Jones, Oklahoma. I like to say that twice. It's so funny. Anyway, so Tommy is an enrolled citizen of the Cherokee Nation of Oklahoma, Macmac Village Council, and a native shareholder of Bristol Bay Native Corporation of Alaska. Dr. Jones joined the office while an intern while he was finishing his PhD in natural resource studies, and his dissertation, which analyzed the barriers to renewable energy development on tribal lands. I also have a published report on our website in the Energy Resource Library that includes work he did with Len Nestefert, another PhD student that was an intern, and that report is posted on our website if you're interested. Since then, he has supported the office in Golden as contractor, and recently, within like the last 3 weeks, joined us as a federal employee. So we're glad to keep him. So again, Tommy's going to help us stay on time, and I just want to give him just a moment to break in if he wants to say a few words to the audience. Tommy.
Okay, thank you, Lasana, and hello everyone. Thank you to all the presenters who've already presented and will present, and those who are attending. It makes this, this is our favorite week of the year typically for the program, because not only do we get to meet people and hear about the projects typically, when it's in person, but it's an inspiring week. And so the knowledge sharing that's available for tribes to share amongst each other, it's pretty amazing. And so we're all happy that we were able to do this year, albeit virtually. But again, thank you to everyone. And I apologize for my cut-ins when there's 5 minutes remaining, but we need to stay on time. But thank you again to everyone.
He hates it, but I made him do it. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so next I'd like to introduce Miss Tweety Doe, another member of our team. She's duty stationed with Tommy and I in Golden, Colorado. She's a project officer for many of the projects you're going to hear about this week. As a project officer, Miss Doe, and I always think this is funny too, Doe, D-O-E, it was just meant to be, Tweety. She does administer the financial assistance awards to Indian tribes, Alaska Native villages, and tribal and intertribal organizations. Before joining the Office of Indian Energy, Tweety served for 8 years with the DOE's Office of Energy Efficiency Renewable Energy, EERE, if you will, as a project officer. And under the infamous Energy Efficiency and Conservation Block Grant Program, which we both survived, and many others from our team as well. She also served as a program management analyst with the Project Management Coordination Office. I don't know who wrote that. My gosh, it's a tongue twister. Anyway, before joining DOE, Tweety had the privilege of working with the Council of Energy Resource Tribes, where she gained valuable experience working with tribal leadership on energy and resource planning and management, and the understanding that tribal communities have diverse needs, resources, and visions. Ms. Tweety has a Bachelor of Arts degree in Political Science at the University of Washington and a Master's of Arts in International Studies and emphasis on economics and human rights from the University of Denver. She did obtain her Project Management Professional Certification, PMP, pretty prestigious, in 2013. She's also a Certified Project Officer and a Contracting Officer Representative. Tweety will be helping us moderate a few of these sessions. Do you want to say a few words, Tweety?
I was wondering if Tommy can help us internally to keep on time. I just was noticing on the agenda that we are a little bit behind, but I look forward to hearing from Ken and Mike and Fernando this afternoon, certainly.
You are right.
Did you hear me?
Talk quick. Yeah, I guess we better talk quick. Okay, thanks for your very few words, Tweety. Before we begin, I just wanted to provide some information on the office to give you a sense of our bigger team. The Office of Indian Energy currently has 9 federal employees. That's actually more than twice as many as we had last November at the program review. We had 4 federal employees at that point in time. We have 4 federal employees in D.C., 3 in Colorado, Tommy, Tweety, and I in Colorado, and 2 in Alaska. We also have contractor support, 2 at headquarters and 6 in Colorado that help us with this national financial assistance program. Supporting us, we have procurement, legal, and NEPA support also through DOE's Golden Field Office. And I'm just going to flash up the picture here of our team. Not everybody is pictured here. I'm going to go through the names quickly. Awesome. Next slide. Thanks. In the front row, let's see, in the back row, we have James Jensen, Chris Venema, both contractors supporting the deployment program in Colorado. Next to him is Gibby Kokanowski, the federal staff member duty stationed in Alaska. Next to Gibby is Director Kevin R. Frost, who's located in Washington, D.C. In the front row, we have Jamie Alley on the far left, myself, Jen Luna, who's team lead for the contractor staff in Colorado. Next to Jen is Tweety Doe, and next to Tweety is Susan, contractor support in Colorado, and next is Jasmine Anderson, a contractor supports Director Frost in D.C., and on the far right is Tommy Jones. So we took this picture last November at the program review, and there's quite a few folks that are not on here, so let me just quickly go through that. Since last November, Gibby Kokanowski has taken a senior policy advisor position, remains duty stationed in Anchorage, Alaska. Gibby was recently joined by Alan Verbitsky, not shown in the picture. Alan is an engineer and has a wealth and deep knowledge of not only energy and energy systems, but quite a bit of experience in Alaskan Native villages as well. Since joining, he's returned home to Alaska. He resides in Anchorage. Brant Petrasic, not shown previously, of DOE's Office of Environmental Management and the history of working with tribes, is joined as a senior advisor duty stationed in D.C. And very recently, as I said, like 3 weeks ago, Dr. Tommy Jones joined joined the federal team as the deployment specialist. On the contractor side, not shown is Jessica Becker, who joined the deployment team in Colorado as a project monitor and may be supporting some of your projects. Next slide, please. So before we jump into the project presentation, let's just go over some event details. Today's webinar is being recorded and will be made available on DOE's Office of Indian Energy Policy and Programs website in a couple of weeks. Copies of the presentation slides will be posted on the website shortly. Everyone will receive a post-event email with the link to the page where the slides and the recording will be located. Because we are recording this webinar, all phones have been muted. We will answer your written questions at the end of the final presentation for the session. You can submit a question at any time by clicking on the question button located in the webinar control box on your screen and typing in your question. For presenters, please ensure that you're muted when you're not presenting, and be aware that we're on a tight timeline, which I've just blown, I think. We will provide a 5-minute reminder 15 minutes into your presentation. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tweety to introduce our presentations for the session. Tweety, you're on.
All right, can you hear me all right? My challenge is with the cell phone company. Welcome everyone to session 5 of our virtual program review. The purpose of our annual program review is to hear from our grant recipients, report on their projects as a requirement of accepting a grant from the Office of Indian Energy. The presenters will provide updates and lessons learned from.
You're cutting out, Tweety. Okay, I'm going to jump in here. So it is a requirement of your grant. We have the project updates. Typically, when we're in person, we share successes and lessons learned. It's a wonderful venue for networking. Unfortunately, not so wonderful when we are doing it via webinar. So let's go to session 5. I think it's slide 13, please. Okay, so for this particular session, we are going to hear from Ken Allman with Colusa Indian Community Council in California, and tell us about his Housing Energy Connection Project, Solar Canopy Extension Project. And Mike, and I'm sorry I don't dare try your name, with Graton Economic Development Authority and their Renewable Energy Efficiency Network Green project. Next, we'll hear from Fernando with Aha Macav Power Service, who will give us an update status on their renewable energy project. And with that, I'm going to invite Ken to jump on, and if you could pull up the slides, please, Isabel. Okay, you're on,
Hello.
Ken.
Hi, is my audio working?
Perfect.
Awesome. Okay, well, my name is Ken Allman, and I am representing the Colusa Indian Community Council in California. I work as the tribe's director of operations for their cogeneration power plant and microgrid, and also for their electrical projects. Next slide, please. This is just a brief outline of the presentation. We actually qualified for 2 grants from the DOE, and so I'm going to
Ken?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can now. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Let's see if that's better. Anyway, this is a brief outline of the presentation. There's a couple of different, 2 different projects that the tribe qualified for funding from the DOE. So the next slide will be a summary of the tribe itself. And then there are there are going to be descriptions of each one of the projects, project location, the location of the rancheria itself, discuss the project participants and the project objectives, and then discuss some relevant project background, and then go over the project progress to date. Next slide, please. So the Colusa Indian community consists of 150 plus members residing in the heart of Northern California's agricultural land on a 290-acre reservation along the bountiful Sacramento River, about 4 miles north of the Colusa city limits on Highway 45. The Colusa Indian community owns and operates the Colusa Casino Resort, which is powered from the tribe-owned and operated cogeneration power plant. The cogen's microgrid provides highly reliable power to the casino and hotel resort, as well as tribal administration buildings, water and wastewater treatment facilities, a wellness center, and several homes. Next slide, please. First, I'll discuss the housing power project. This project expands the existing medium voltage distribution from the tribe's cogen microgrid to more than 30 homes, a daycare, a mechanical shop, some irrigation pumps, and a sewer lift station, which currently receive their power from the local electric utility, PG&E. Also, as part of this project, AMR, or automatic meter reading, and AMI, advanced metering infrastructure, is to be installed to allow the tribe to set up its own electric metering like a utility. Next slide, please. The second project is what we call the solar canopy expansion project. This is a solar PV system integrated with a carport canopy in the parking lot to the east of the casino resort and just north of an existing parking canopy solar system. This new expansion is rated at about 448 kilowatt AC. This project interconnects with the existing microgrid system similar to the housing project at medium voltage, 12.47 kV, and will use existing electrical infrastructure from the existing parking lot canopy solar system to reduce system costs. Next slide, please. This is a map showing the general location of the Colusa Rancheria. Like I mentioned, it's just a couple miles north of the town of Colusa, which is about an hour north of Sacramento, in the middle of the valley. And then the map on the right is just a satellite image of the entire reservation. Next slide, please. These few slides after this, including this one, will show the location on the reservation of the housing power project and also the solar canopy expansion. This image shows the bulk of the work where the majority of the new loads are being connected to the existing microgrid system. This is where the majority of the homes are clustered together, which are currently being fed by overhead service from PG&E. We have buried underground medium voltage here in order to demo out all of that overhead service. So we've installed new meters at each one of these homes. There's also a baseball field that you can see pretty prominently that is currently being powered as well by the cogen plant. Next slide, please. Just faintly, you can see some red lines. That indicates where our trenching took place to expand the microgrid. So we had a few miles total of new infrastructure that had to go in the ground, including the medium voltage cable itself, switchgear, sectionalizing cabinets, and then transformers. Excuse me. So this shows the location of the tribe's wastewater treatment plant, which was already served by the cogen microgrid, but the red line, like I said, indicates where the new cable is going under the ground. Next slide, please. Here again, you'll see some red lines showing where some of the new infrastructure is underground. There are a total of 2 homes. These are much larger homes to the north of the resort that are now connected to the cogen, and then also a sewer lift pump and a massive well water pump. It's actually a 300 kVA service to that single well pump. Next slide, please. And this shows the basically the end of the loop, the new loop of medium voltage in the ground. There are additional homes pictured here on the left and the right. The home in the center is actually not owned by the tribe, so we had to dodge around that in order to provide power to the other homes. Next slide, please. Here is the location of the solar canopy expansion project. The blue rectangles indicate the proposed location for the new canopies, and just to the south of that you can see the existing solar canopies that were installed in 2012, and those are rated at about 350 kW AC, and so in total we'll have nearly 800 kilowatts of just solar power. And these canopies all are connected directly to are connected directly to the microgrid, so that all of that power being generated is being used real time all the time, every day. And so as the sun is shining, we're using 100% of that power from the canopies and reducing the demand on the cogen's gas engines. Next slide, please. This is just a brief summary of the project participants, the main participants. The business contact is the tribal chairman, Daniel Gomez. I am the technical contact, and all engineering construction work to be done by subs under my supervision. Some of the construction work has been self-performed by the tribe. The solar carport structure, modules, and inverters have all been provided by SunPower. The primary contractor on both jobs is a company called Graton Industrial, a company who's been doing work for us, actually helped build the cogen back in 2004. Our electrical engineer is Andrew Humphrey. He's been around nearly as long. And then again, the solar carport vendor is SunPower. Next slide, please. Project objective. So for the Housing Power Project, the objective is to provide less expensive and more reliable power to the tribe for its members' homes, commercial, agricultural, industrial facilities than the existing supply from PG&E. Over the 30-year expected lifespan of this project, it is expected to save the tribe over $9.3 million, taking members' money away from the incumbent utility and giving it back to the tribe's own economic development corporation. Next slide, please. The objective for the solar canopy expansion project, basically it will cost approximately $2.3 million. Pardon me, I'm sorry, I've got this frog in my throat. This project would cost approximately $2.3 million and generate approximately $5.2 million in energy savings and reduce carbon emissions by approximately 10,000 tons of CO2 over the 30-year life of this project. Again, this project integrates into the tribe's long-term energy goals and vision by providing a tribe-owned, low-cost, self-sufficient, and renewable energy supply to the community. It also reduces demand and prolongs the life of existing conventional generators, as I explained earlier. Next slide, please. This is some relevant background info on each one of the projects. So the tribe owns and operates an existing 6 megawatt cogen plant. This plant operates islanded and autonomous from PG&E, meaning we generate 100% of our own electricity. we do have the ability to parallel connect, but very rarely do. We have had a single outage in the last 9 years, which is a pretty remarkable feat. We employ a 4 megavolt amp UPS system with 15 minutes of battery backup that provides highly reliable power to the resort as well as to all the other loads that the tribe has. This project connects a total of 39 new loads to the tribe's existing microgrid. Next slide, please. Some background info on the solar canopy. The tribe owns an existing canopy rated for 336 kW. As I showed you earlier, this was built in, I'm sorry, that should say 2012. I am so sorry. I've had this cough all day. The proposed project is an expansion of the existing parking canopy solar array, which brings our total solar capacity to nearly 800 kilowatts. Next slide, please. This is a review of the housing power project progress to date. Engineering and design is complete. All medium and low voltage infrastructure is installed. 36 of the 39 new loads are already disconnected and being powered by the tribe-owned plant. We're planning to complete this December 21st, which would be 1 year ahead of schedule. And the photos that you see there show some of our progress. Next slide, please. The progress for the solar canopy expansion project is that all civil work is complete, including the grading, trenching, storm drainage, concrete work, and parking lot asphalt. All canopy pier foundations are poured, and actually this week we started to stand the steel. All of the inverters are installed. The construction is expected to be complete sometime next month, nearly 1 year ahead of schedule. Next slide, please. And that concludes the presentation. This is my contact information if anyone has any questions. Thank you.
All right, this is Tweety. I'm going to try to jump back in. Can anyone confirm that you can hear me all right?
I can hear you.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, good, great. Ken, thank you so much for pushing through the frog in your throat and your challenges with the cell line connection. Thank you so much. I appreciate hearing your update on the 2 projects. All right, next we have Mike Lizio, and Mike is going to provide us with some exciting updates on Greyton's green project. Mike, your slides are up and ready when you are.
Great. Well, thank you so much for the kind introduction, Tweety. My name is Mike Ulizio. I'm the Executive Director for the Graton Economic Development Authority, and it's my pleasure to give an update on the Greyton Renewable Energy Efficient Network, the Green Project, which is really starting to take flight for us. I've been now with Greyton for a little over a year and a half, and I've been working mostly in the casino industry, but in tribal economic development for the past 17 years, and I got to tell you, it's a real pleasure to be working with the Federated Indians of Greyton. So if we could go to the next slide, it would be fantastic. Thank you so much. The Federated Indians of Greyton Rancheria are based in the North Bay area, mostly in Sonoma County. On the 27th of this month, it's proud to announce that the tribe will be celebrating their 20-year anniversary of restoration. So a very exciting time for the tribe. And exciting time as their casino's management contract is coming to the end and we're moving towards self-management. So we're looking forward to serving the 1,400 tribal citizens, and this is a great project to continue that on. Next slide, please. Okay. So based on the 2017 grant award, the original award was for a 1.5 megawatt solar system to be put on the tribal land. There is $1 million federal award with the tribal match, and one of the things that we were able to do as we went and reworked this project over the last few months was actually increase the size to 2.4 megawatts. So was really able to sharpen our pencils, expand the initiative for the Green Project, which is very important for the tribe. The tribe is about 250 plus acres. It's based in Rohnert Park, which is pretty much right in the heart of Sonoma County, in Rohnert Park. So a very infill location. The panels will all be located on the roof of the casino, which is presently in place, and everything with the casino falls underneath the tribe's Economic Development Authority. The two most important things that's great about working with the tribe is their core values, which are highlighted here, which are social justice and environmental stewardship. And having been here only a year and a half, it's really great to see the tribal council. Not only do they take those values at heart, but they talk the talk and walk the walk. So once again, very happy to be here. Next slide, please. So getting into a little bit more of the specifics on it, in 2016, the tribe engaged a renewable energy systems analysis to see, with those core values, what can the tribe do from a renewable energy standpoint? And what we determined is we are going to cover the rooftop of the casino, and this is actually, there's a little bit more footprint to the south of this, which we increased the size to get up to that 2.4 megawatts to really push the tribe's first major energy project. The first project they did do one which includes some electronic vehicle charging stations, which are in the parking lot, which is a great project and leads to the tribe's commitment to green energy. Next slide, please. The project on its own really comes down to three real main tasks. The main portion of this is obviously the grant and project administration. I'll thank Tim Campbell, who is the tribe's grant administrator, who was vital in helping put this together, the slide presentation, as well as managing the grant. So thank you, Tim, if you're on. The next task that went on was the RFP and coming up with the vendor contract. We actually had to do that in two stints. We did a 2018 original RFP prior to my getting on board here. And when we did the RFP, we ran into a couple of challenges over at the casino as far as connectivity was concerned. We went back, we had a call with James and Tweedy, who have been extremely wonderful resources to work with. In talking with them and kind of going over our thoughts, we decided to go back and really sharpen a pencil. We brought back our two lowest bidders. We told them we really need them to sharpen their pencil, and went on from there and finished the RFP. The third task, which will happen subsequent to the installation, which will happen in 21, by third quarter of 21, will be the performance and the installation monitoring. Next slide, please. So this slide shows the challenges and kind of the steps that we had to take in order to move forward, as I touched on briefly on the previous slide. Back in 2008, when the original RFP was completed, there was a decision at that point in time. A vendor was chosen, started going down the contract negotiation stance. And much like Ken at Colusa, we are also on, although not as independent, we do a lot with PG&E. We're tied into their grid here locally. The solar system, once it's tied in, it will be tied into the local utility, which is PG&E. But what we determined was, as we cut over and would put the solar onto the grid, there would be a prolonged downtime. And unfortunately, the prolonged downtime made us realize that there was not sufficient generator power to back up the casino and the hotel and all the amenities. And it really unveiled a real chink in the armor of the tribe's emergency resources. Hence, we had to go back, resize the generator yard, and at the same time, we were running a parallel project on the tails of another expansion that's occurring presently at the casino to update the generator power. That generator will be updated by July of 2021. It will be in place such that in the case of a prolonged downtime, if something were to happen as we were tying in the solar, that the casino will be fully functioning and none of the customers or anybody will experience any downtime or so forth. So we really had to go back and resharpen that, figure out what was going on with the backup. But one of the things that I think was a blessing on that was it really made us reevaluate from a tribal standpoint, how big of a project do we want to have? I think the PV panels were able to come down in price, and it made the tribe create an even larger anticipated solar project than it ever thought. Once again, originally thinking it was going to be 1.5 megawatts in the original grant, pushing that to 2.4 megawatts of power after implementation. And we should be done with all that and ready to go by third quarter of 21, I'm proud to announce. Next slide, please. And once again, the most important thing for the tribe, obviously, is renewable energy, being green, being a good environmental steward, and being good citizens to the earth and to the community. These are some of the goals that were outlined by the tribe as we were moving forward. And one of the things that I would be remiss in announcing is every project that the tribe does from here on out with regards to construction will have some level of green involved in it. That's just, it's a high priority to the tribe, and it's something that we impress upon our contractors that is very, very important. And this solar project is just going to be the first step in what will hopefully be several green initiatives for the tribe. If you can go on to the next slide, it'd be great. Once again, in support of the alternative energy focus on the tribe, and here's our 2015 charging stations being put in. The grant is managed by the Bay Area Air Quality Management District, and on the right is our tribal chairperson, Greg Saris. He's been the tribal chairperson since before the restoration of the tribe, and is really the driving force behind the tribe's values, as well as their want and need to adhere to green energy. Next slide, please. There's a lot of coordination and outreach. Obviously, there's more people on here that are involved that are on the slide. One of the big areas where I think that we were able to achieve where I think some areas struggle is this was a real coordinated effort that we were able to bring together. On the tribal government side, as I mentioned before, Tim Campbell, the grant administrator, bringing in the CFO, the executive director on the tribe side, the leadership at the resort and the casino, utilizing some outside resources at Sonoma State University, as well as our project consultants and vendors, and being able to have all those people communicate, work together, understand the goal, understand the objectives of the tribe, work together and reach this common goal of bringing this to fruition. Our vendors, our Kenwood Energy, who helped us with the RFP, was excellent in helping us figure out the right size and so forth. And then Borrego Solar Systems for us is doing everything from design to implementation, construction, and so forth. So very highly coordinated effort, and we were able to get across the finish line, and hoping that we could report that we were on time and get everything done by September of 21. Next slide, please. On here, as you can see, that's the address of our tribal government office, as well as our contact information. Once again, I, as the executive director, and the technical contact, bridging the gap between tribal government and the casino operations, and then Tim Campbell as the business contact, as the tribe's grant administrator, but he does so much more than that. So just wanted to wrap up and say once again, thank you, Tim, for all your hard work, and thank you, James and Tweety, for some great guidance going through this process. This is my first time working with the Department of Energy, and you guys have been a blessing to work with, and it's very appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mike and Tim, and it's so great to see the progress that you made in this project, and you've just overcome your obstacle to enable this project to move forward. So we love working with you. Thank you. Next, and to round out session 5, we have Fernando Parra, who will be talking to us about the Aha Macav Power Service, and they are on track to accomplish the renewable project number 1 on schedule. Fernando, you're on.
All right, thank you for the introduction, Tweety. Again, as Tweety mentioned, my name is Fernando Parra, and welcome to the Fort Mojave Indian Tribe and Aha Macav Power Service Solar Project. Next slide, please. So the Fort Mojave Indians are the people by the river, or people Aha Macav. The Fort Mojave Reservation is located in the tri-state area of Arizona, California, and Nevada along the Colorado River. The traditional way of life starts with respect to the land and nature. Everyday life consists of working to provide for our families and honoring our culture by practicing traditions and beliefs as our ancestors did before us. Next slide, please. So continuing on with the history. So this is Spirit Mountain, and every year on Mojave Days, what they do is you have, next slide, please. You have young men and men run from Spirit Mountain all the way to California Village, which is about 28 miles. And here on this picture, you see the leading truck, and you see two young men there leading the pack there. They're about 3.5 miles away from finishing there in California Village. Next slide, please. So continuing about us, the Fort Mojave Indian Reservation, as mentioned earlier, it's in 3 different states, California, Arizona, and Nevada, and 3 different counties, which is the San Bernardino County, California, at 12,633 acres, the Mojave County, Arizona, at 23,669 acres, Clark County, Nevada, at 5,582 acres, and currently there's 1,439 enrolled members. Next slide, please. So the Tribal Council, it's a governing body of the Fort Mojave Indian Tribe. There are 7 elected Tribal Council members. That's Timothy Williams as the chairman, Shan Lewis as the vice chairman, Colleen Garcia as the secretary, and 4 other members as Nicole Garcia, Norvin McCord Sr., Johnny Hemmers, and Selena Reyes. Next slide, please. Continuing about the Fort Mojave Indian Tribe, they have different businesses throughout the reservation as long as departments. Now, please keep in mind that this is not an all-inclusive list, but just to name some here, some of the businesses, they have the Aviquame Farms, Aha Macav Power Service, which is us, the electric and gas utility company, the Fort Mojave Telecom, their telecommunications, their internet, phones, and cables, as well as smoke shops, the Hucon Golf and Mojave Resort Golf Clubs. They have the Fort Mojave Tribal Utilities Authority, which is their water and sewer company, as well as Spirit Mountain Casino, the Avi Resort and Casino, and the Mojave Crossing Event Center. And currently, we've been utilizing the Mojave Crossing Event Center for a mass COVID-19 testing, which, by the way, I have to go test today. And then the departments here throughout the reservation as well. You have the behavioral health department, you have the Taro and Vocational Rehabilitation, as well as Tribal Court. Next slide, please. And here we have last year, we constructed the Anya Ipak pre-K and elementary school. And as you can see, that's before pre-COVID-19. So next slide, please. And this year, we constructed the Typo gas station or C-store. And this was completed during the COVID-19. And the AMPS crew, we were instrumental in this and vital as we provided power to the gas station and the store. And we took all the overhead service out and we ran it underground through underground of Highway 95. So there was a lot of coordination there with Arizona Department of Transportation, and as well with our crew and everyone there, as you can see the kind of impact it can have running power lines underneath Highway 95. So next slide, please. And so continuing on about us now, Aha Macav Power Service, or AMPS, we have a board of directors. There are 7 appointed board members. That's Wayne Nelson as our chairperson, Amanda McCord, our vice chairperson, Angela Madrano as our secretary, Wes Davis as our treasurer. We have 3 other members as well. That's Craig Castillo Sr., Leland McCord, and Gentry Madrano. Next slide, please. Continuing on, AMPS, we were incorporated under a tribal charter authorized back in July 1991. And if you can see that on the left hand there, that is our office. And so we also provide electric power service to homes and businesses located within the Fort Mojave Indian Reservation. And that's our wellness center there on the left hand side there as well. And AMPS also provides natural gas for the Avi Resort and Casino and the Mojave Crossing Event Center. AMPS has a staff which includes highly trained line workers who are on call 24/7. And this is important because it really minimizes our downtime, and we're able to react to emergencies at any given moment, and really reduces our downtime should something happen there or occur in an emergency. Next slide, please. We also install, operate, and maintain transmissions and distribution lines on the Fort Mojave Indian Reservation. And right there on the left-hand side of that, you can see regulators there. About 2 months ago, we had a ringtail get up there, and I guess it was either trying to get warm or something, and got in between the lines and started a fire, and our regulator there just blew up. So it started a fire, and we were, as I mentioned earlier before, that we're on 24/7. So we were able to respond in a timely manner, and we were able to get that resolved within a couple of hours, within 2 hours. So we did good there. And then AMPS, we also have all the equipment needed for emergencies or routine work. So as I just mentioned, we had a regulator on hand, and we were able to send the other one to get repaired and everything. And so we were able to once again minimize our downtime within a couple of hours. So and then AMPS also has 2 power substations and a switchyard, which provides power backup feed to the city of Needles, California. And I'll be talking about one of our substations, which is No Name substation that our solar project is right next to. But here as well, as I mentioned, we provide power backup feed to the city of Needles. Well, 3 months ago, there was a storm, and a tree went into one of the power lines at the city of Needles, and it took them out, and it took them out as well for several hours, and we were able to provide them a backup feed through our switch yard, through our Nora McDowell switch yard. So they were quite happy and ecstatic for that. So we're glad to be able to help in that situation when the city of Needles was out. And AMPS also upgraded to advanced metering infrastructure, AMI meters, which is an integrated system of smart meters, just what one of the presenters before me mentioned that they were going to be doing. So these are great meters. We no longer have to go and read the meters by hand. We get it right here, right at our fingertips, right at our computer, and we're able to see, all the meter data, as well as we're able to start and stop services for new customers and things of that nature. Next slide, please. And so a little bit of background about this project. Our power purchase agreement expires actually this month, December 31st, 2020. We're also preparing for drought conditions, and we're short 9 megawatts from the Western Area Power Administration. Next slide, please. Also, the objective is to reduce the dependence on outside power providers, and to be energy self-sufficiency, and to reduce energy costs as they will continue to escalate. Back in August, when California had the fires, well, we were also affected by that as well. And we were affected in terms of price. And, what happened was the supply wasn't there, but the demand is there. And so back in August, standard pricing, when the California fires were going on, it was $1,600 a megawatt hour, and it reached all the way up to $2,250 a megawatt hour. So can you imagine what that did to us? We took a huge financial impact on that. So this is why, this is a project that we were wanting to accomplish, and as well as reducing that dependence on the outside providers, and to last but not least here is to provide the clean and affordable power as well to our members. So next slide, please. And so an overview of the project, it's a 2.3 megawatt solar power system project. There's 24 rows of panels, 350 panels per row. It's 5 panels high with 16 500,000 watt inverters, and the site is approximately 6 acres. Next slide, please. And so now on the location of our site, as mentioned before, it's there in the tri-state area of Nevada, California, and Arizona. So this is just a reference map there. Next slide, please. And that star on the map there, again, is where our site is located. Next slide, please. You got a 30,000 foot level view here, and that red square there is the location area where where we have our solar there, where we have right by Mountain View Road and Reservation Road. Next slide, please. And now we got the bird's eye view right there, where I mentioned earlier that that's our no-name substation on the top left corner there, right by Mountain View Road and Reservation Road, and that's our 6 acre site where we put the solar panels on. And this is a really ideal location because you don't have a long way to go to your substation, so it really cut down on costs for the transmission lines. Next slide, please. And here we have our groundbreaking ceremony. As I mentioned before, this is during our COVID-19, so things were a little different. We had to make some adjustments, and as you can see, we have the construction hats there and vests and everything like that, social distancing. So next slide, please. And here we have guys routing some of the power lines going from panel to panel. Next slide, please. And here's the solar system put together. On the left-hand side there, on the top corner there, you have our substation, and then you see the like white rectangles there. You have the trailers that these panels came in, and you know, going through this whole COVID as well, it had to go through customs, and we had those trailers sitting there for quite some time. And so
Pardon the interruption, you have 5 minutes remaining.
Okay, thank you. And then so basically this is our solar system put together. Next slide, please. And after the construction, we're there cleaning the solar panels, and these are some of the solar kits, solar panel cleaning kits that we had, and also found out that it's better just to go down to your local Lowe's store and get those and put them together yourself than what the solar panel kits come in. They're a bit flimsy, but that's us taking off the dust right after construction. Next slide, please. And then here we have our AMPS board chairman, and that's me there to the right of him, acting like I know what I'm doing, telling them, yeah, go ahead. And no, but to charge this main switch, you have to charge it, do about six pull downs on the handle, and that's our AMPS board chairman, Wayne Nelson, doing the honors of powering up the solar site system for the first time. Next slide, please. Oh, and just to mention that that was also we started producing power on September 30th, and that was the day there for that. And this here is a screenshot of our website, as we have 16 inverters, and you can see on here there's 16 there, and you can dive into details as much as you want to. You can click on each one. It has a link, and it takes you different places. You can see how much power it's producing currently, and then how much for the day, and you can also see efficiencies of the panels, how they're running, if you have issues with any of them. So this is a really great system. Very impressed with it. There's a lot of information that you can get from here. And again, this is right here, right on the computer, right at our fingertips, and you can pull it off of cell phones as well. So next slide, please. And then some of the lessons learned. Where it provides 3.9 megawatts per year, so actually it's providing more than what we expected. So these inverters are great, and the panels are great, producing more than what we were expecting. And also the inverters are not Wi-Fi as explained. So early on, the manufacturer explained that they're Wi-Fi routers. Well, they're Bluetooth, and you have to be right next to them. So what we learned is they're not Wi-Fi, they're Bluetooth. And so we had to connect each one of them, and we had to have Wi-Fi out there at the site in order for us to be able to get that data here at our computers right in front of us. And so that was one of the lessons learned, as well as the main switch. It was difficult to acquire. Again, during this whole COVID-19 had some struggles, and this main switch was coming from Mexico as well. So I had to do some translating there between the contractors and myself and the vendor of the main switch. And then as I mentioned earlier about the solar cleaning kits, they're flimsy, so you're better off going to Lowe's and buying your own and putting it together yourself. And one thing that I didn't mention here, which it was a real hectic and it was, you need a revenue grade meter and one that's approved by one that was approved by the Western Area Power Administration, or WAPA. And so we need to be able to, and it needs to be able to communicate with them as well, because that's what they're going to be reading, for the net metering and stuff like that, to be able to offset what we're intaking. And so those were some of the lessons learned. And as well, that meter was several, it was interesting. They had told us a couple 2 years. And I'm like, no, that's not going to work for us. And so we were scrambling left and right, and we were able to find one, and we got one within a couple of weeks. And WAPA was very impressed on how fast we were able to get it. And so, again, took a lot of coordinating to get that revenue grade meter that was acceptable by Western, by WAPA. So next slide, please.
We're up against the time. Please wrap up in the next 1 minute. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. And so I'd like to give thanks to the participants of Fort Mojave Tribal Council for having the vision and allowing us to move forward with this, and the AMPS Board of Directors for their support in getting this solar project going, and the Aha Macav Power staff, again, through all the construction and everything that's needed to get this going, as well as the Stockbridge Energy Group, our contractor, Grant Management Associates, and last but not least, but U.S. Department of Energy, Office of Indian Energy. Thank you so much for the grant, as we couldn't have done this without you guys. So thank you so much for the grant. We really, really do appreciate it. And next slide, please. And with that, on behalf of the Fort Mojave Indian Tribe and Aha Macav Power Service, we'd like to thank you.
Thank you so much, Fernando. You guys have made amazing progress on your project. I want to thank you for your willingness, as well as Ken's and Mike's time sharing your stories with us. Next, I'd like to pass our virtual mic here back to James Jensen. James is the contractor to the Office of Indian Energy, and besides being a project monitor on a couple of these projects, as you know, he is also instrumental in bringing our monthly webinars for many years now. James, I will hand it over to you.
Thanks so much, Tweety, and thanks to our presenters. You bailed us out and got us back on schedule, so we appreciate that. Let's jump into our questions. We have several, but please submit more if you have any. The first one here, a question for the Colusa project. Why was the microgrid developed initially? Was it power quality issues or poor reliability?
Hi, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So, up until the last year that the tribe ran in parallel full-time with PG&E was 2004. And that year they had 52 power interruptions. And so what we qualify as a power interruption, not necessarily what the utility does. So yeah, it was power quality. The casino, it's basically almost one a week where they would have at least some type of brownout, if not complete blackout. And so that's it. Yeah, we had to come up with some way to mitigate that. And real briefly, 2004, the cogen and microgrid were constructed, but we still didn't have any backup systems. So from 2004 until 2012, we averaged 5 or 6 power interruptions per year, because anytime the gas engines would shut down, we would have to transition on to PG&E in order to get back up and running. And every time we went from island operation back to parallel and then back to island, we would have a brief power outage. So 2012, we brought the UPS system with 4 megawatts of diesel engine backup online, and since then we have had a single outage.
Yeah, that's great. And so now you're expanding to some of the residences in the area. Have they been continue to experience poor reliability with PG&E?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. They've all of the rest of the tribe's accounts that are connected to PG&E are on the same line that was serving the casino. So the long-standing power quality issues have remained, if not gotten worse over the years. There's been no investment in infrastructure. PG&E offered to let the tribe give them $10 million to upgrade their equipment, to which the tribe declined and decided to continue investing in their own microgrid.
Great, thank you. Another question for you, Ken. How much solar can you put on your microgrid? Are you approaching limitations with your balancing your system, your cogen system?
Yes, that's a good question. We are basically the plan currently. So since we're actually the department's called cogen. Everybody refers to it as cogen, but it's actually trigen. So we produce electricity, hot water, and chilled water for the entire resort. And basically, we're right at about the sweet spot as far as balancing between solar generation and our primary generation from the gas engines. So basically, going forward, the policy is that any new loads that are connected for any new electric-only loads that are connected to the microgrid should be offset with solar, so that anybody who isn't using heat or chilled water from us, we can continue to add solar to offset those loads. But we don't want to expand the solar so much so that we aren't able to generate enough heat and chilled water for the resort. So it is kind of a balancing act, and it's kind of a work in progress as far as learning exactly how to manage the operation on a daily basis. So far, we've never had to shed any of our solar generation in order to maintain our balance inside the plant. But as we add all these new loads and all this new solar generation, I anticipate it might be something that we have to keep a closer eye on going forward for sure.
Yeah, that's a fun challenge, managing the thermodynamics of that system. But yeah, you're maximizing the efficiency, so that's great. For Mike and the Greyton project, are you guys looking at a cogen system ever for your casino resort?
Hey there. Thank you for the question. Once again, a lot of things are being discussed. We're taking things one step at a time. The solar project is kind of a large undergoing for us, and once again, we're building a lot more infrastructure now with the generator pad and so forth. I think our power's a little bit in a better situation because of our location than maybe where Ken is out where he is. We don't have the same power outages and so forth. The power's a little bit more reliable. So, there's something that's on the drawing board yet, but once again, with the green initiatives of the tribe, they're always looking at opportunities such as that.
Great. I guess a question once again to Mike. Are we on the increased size of the project? Is that based solely on increased efficiency in the modules, like higher energy production per unit area, or is it also expanding the footprint of the modules?
Actually, it's 100% having to do with wanting to expand the footprint. When we presented the two RFP that the finalists to the tribe, and we said, look, we could go with this. This is what you could do to meet your grant requirements. The response back from the tribe was, Mike, do it. When we do things, we do it right. So essentially, it was having enough footprint to go and maximize the solar project to the best we could for the rooftop that we had available. And that was the inspiration behind choosing to increase it to the 2.4 megawatts.
Great. Yeah, that's awesome to be able to fully utilize your roof in this one project. I'm glad you're able to expand the capacity. Fernando, happy to see your project is built so smoothly, and you're able to troubleshoot your few issues with the suppliers. Are you looking at ever expanding to an additional project in the future?
Yes, we are looking to expand. Hopefully, we're able to do that. But yes, we are. Is
your power supply shortage? I think you mentioned 9 megawatts from WAPA. Is that related to the drought conditions, or is maybe you can elaborate on your power supply shortage?
In terms of that condition, as well as we're having to purchase more, and with this project, we're able to offset that shortage. As I mentioned, that our contract is expiring, and then with that shortage, then when we need to go out and purchase more power, and times like this, when there's droughts or a fire or anything like that, it really affects us as what we saw, that these prices were just going through the roof during in August when that fire was happening in California.
Great. Yeah, with those high spot market prices, I think you said $2,500 per megawatt hour. Have you considered battery storage to maybe alleviate?
Well,
give you more flexibility.
Well, just right now, we're kind of focusing on solar, just because it seems that the battery storage is not economically feasible at this time. But I'm sure, in the future, that's something definitely that, we would like to look into once it does become, economically feasible for that.
Great. Thanks, Fernando. I've got one last question here in the queue, and then I'll open it up to all of you. And you may or may not have these numbers at the tips of your fingers, but do you have any idea what your cents per kilowatt hour cost is for these projects, the solar projects?
Oh, is that question directed to me? It's like $1.69.
That's the installed cost per watt, $1.69 per watt. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah, and thanks, Fernando. I think the question is the how much does the energy cost essentially? Like, what's the I'm trying to think of the proper terminology, but
gotcha. Okay, so the energy.
Yeah.
So let me give you an example. So the 3 megawatts that is expiring, that was for next year going to cost us $988,000 and some change for 3 megawatts, and that was for next year. And so it just keeps escalating, and so you can see that just with this right here, the payback, the return on investment is just relatively quick. It's a quick turnaround time.
Great, thanks, Fernando. Ken or Mike, do you have any thoughts on your cost per watt as well as value of the solar?
No, I don't have the cost per watt handy. I do know that our ROI, including the actual structures, the canopies themselves, is just over 8 years. So without the structure, it gets cut down to less than 4 years. So the ROI is pretty good. I'm sorry I don't have the other number that you're looking for.
No problem. This is Mike. Yeah, this is Mike with Greyton. I'm in a similar situation with Ken. We didn't do a cost per watt. We did a similar ROI calculation. We actually wound up coming in right around the same area between the 7 to 8 year payback period, which was we felt was phenomenal, and the reason why to go with the larger project.
Great, thanks, guys. That's all we have at this time. So I'll pass it back to Zana to close us out. But thank you for your answers.
Thank you, everybody, and thank you, James, for helping moderate that. Thanks, Ken, Mike, and Fernando. Really great presentations. Love to hear all of the wonderful things. It's great in our position because we can sort of, see these projects across the nation with different tribes, and I don't know, it's pretty exciting that, these projects are making such a difference in the lives of people and communities. So, again, thank you for your time. I want to thank James for helping moderate this. This will conclude this particular session of the program review. If you're going to attend the next session today, you'll need to join using the link and call-in number provided with that registration. Pardon me. We will begin the next session at 2:40. So a few minutes from now, if you're going to join us. Thanks again, everybody. This concludes this session of the program review. Goodbye.